The following content has been generated with artificial intelligence under minimal human supervision. The data presented may contain errors or inaccuracies. The opinions expressed in this content do not necessarily reflect the vision, position, or values of Digiall. We recommend verifying critical information with additional sources before making decisions based on this content.
Welcome to Digital Tech News. Today is Saturday, May 30th, 2026. I'm Kylie Brooks, and this is where technology becomes clear and engaging. Nvidia has committed at least $6.5 billion to photonics since March, betting that light-based connections can ease one of AI infrastructure's biggest energy bottlenecks. Ukraine is using AI-enabled Hornet drones to strike Russian supply convoys far behind the front, turning logistics routes into a new pressure point in the war. A federal magistrate judge wants U.S. courts to require lawyers and self-represented litigants to certify that cited legal authorities actually exist and are accurately quoted. AI voice cloning scams are getting realistic enough that families may need code words and verification habits, not just trust in a familiar voice. Singer-songwriter Samuel Smith used generative AI demos to keep composing through Parkinson's, showing both the accessibility promise and the artistic tension around AI music. Let's start with the part of the AI boom that is not as flashy as a new chatbot, but maybe just as decisive: how data physically moves. Nvidia has committed at least $6.5 billion since March to companies working on photonics, including $2 billion split across Lumentum, Coherent, and Marvel, $500 million into Corning for advanced optical connectivity, and participation in IR Labs' $500 million Series E round. The idea is simple to say and hard to manufacture. Use light instead of electrical signals over copper to move data between GPUs, memory, networking chips, servers, and even data centers. That matters because the next generation of AI systems is running into energy and scale limits, and Nvidia wants what Jensen Huang calls AI factories that can connect millions of GPUs with lower operating costs. The market has noticed, with Lumentum, Coherent, Marvel, and Corning all sharply up this year. But here's the grounded reality check. Complex co-packaged optical assemblies have unforgiving alignment requirements, and failures are not easy to rework. So this is a strategic bet on the plumbing of AI, with broad adoption still expected no earlier than 2028. Now to Ukraine, where AI is changing the geography of pressure on the battlefield. BBC verify authenticated footage of at least 14 incidents in the past week targeting Russian trucks carrying food, fuel, and ammunition along occupied southern routes, including at least 10 between the Russian border and Mariupol. Analysts have confirmed around 150 vehicles destroyed more than 20 kilometers from the front line, and Ukrainian officials describe the strategy as a logistics lockdown. The Hornet drones at the center of this push are trained on thousands of hours of Russian target footage, connect through Starlink for longer reach and better resistance to jamming, and can be launched as loitering munitions toward broad areas more than 100 miles away, before using precise terminal guidance. In practical terms, that forces Russian supplies, heavy equipment, and forward bases farther back, while brigades can need up to 1,000 tons of resupply a day. Russia is already responding with shorter convoys, civilian traffic restrictions, and movement onto fields and dirt roads. The bigger question is how long Ukraine's advantage lasts, because Russia is expected to develop countermeasures. For now, though, this shows how AI-assisted targeting can make logistics roads feel much closer to the front than they are on a map. Here is a very concrete example of institutions catching up to generative AI. Yesterday, U.S. Magistrate Judge Patty Barksdale, in the Middle District of Florida's Jacksonville Division, asked the U.S. Judicial Conference's Advisory Committee on Civil Rules to consider a nationwide change to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 11. The proposed requirement is direct. Attorneys and people representing themselves would certify that the legal authorities they cite exist and are accurately cited. That sounds basic, but it targets a real failure mode of generative AI systems, confident-looking legal citations to cases that do not exist, or quotes that are not accurate. Florida's Supreme Court adopted a similar state court rule on Thursday, with sanctions available and an effective date of June 15th. At the federal level, the committee could take up the idea as early as October. This matters because courts are trying to avoid a patchwork where every judge writes a different standing order for AI-assisted filings. The balanced position is not anti-technology. Lawyers can use powerful tools, but the duty of accuracy cannot be outsourced to a model. If this becomes a national rule, the practical message will be clear. Human review is not a courtesy in legal work. It is part of the filing. This next story is personal security in the age of synthetic media. A California mother lost thousands of dollars this month after a caller sounded exactly like her daughter in distress, and she later suspected an AI-generated voice clone. The frightening part is how little audio can be enough. Experts say today's tools can create convincing replicas from just seconds of material pulled from social media or earlier recordings, and Henry Ida says even he cannot reliably tell the difference anymore. The FBI reported $893 million in losses to AI-related scams in the prior year, a category that includes voice cloning, phishing, romance scams, and other hoaxes. The pattern is painfully familiar: a supposed kidnapping, a jail emergency, pressure to send money immediately, and instructions not to tell anyone. Scammers can also use caller ID spoofing or real-time voice skinning to make the conversation interactive. So the defense has to become behavioral. Create a private family code word that is not online. Verify urgent calls through text, another phone, or a trusted third party, and slow down whenever someone demands secrecy and speed. It may feel awkward to challenge a voice you love, but right now, verification is care. And finally, a very different AI music story, one where the context matters. London-based singer-songwriter Samuel Smith was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2020 at age 49, and tremors, stiffness, and fatigue largely ended the way he had always written songs, guitar in hand. For his second album, The Art of Letting Go, released in 2026, he used Suno and Udio to build demo arrangements for the instrumental track Horizon. He hummed rough melodies into his phone, uploaded them, and worked through 50 to 150 iterations with prompts for instrumentation, mood, and style. Importantly, those demos were not mixed into the final studio track. They helped him communicate his vision to musicians. The album was produced by Grammy-winning pianist Matt Rollings and features players including Jerry Douglas, Alison Brown, Stuart Duncan, Brian Sutton, Victor Krauss, Jonathan Brooke, Glenn Phillips, and Julian Lager. Smith even had a bittersweet 10-minute window in a Nashville studio where he played a guitar duet despite months without playing. This lands inside a heated debate, with major labels having sued Suno and Udio in 2024 over training data before some later settlements and partnerships. The trade-off is real. AI can enable access, especially for disabled artists, while over-reliance could weaken the trial and error and collaboration that shape musicianship. Smith's case is powerful because the tool did not replace the artists. It translated an artist's intention back into the room. Today's through line is trust in systems we are rapidly asking to do more. Light-based infrastructure for AI, autonomous drones in wartime logistics, courts policing machine-made citations, families verifying voices, and artists deciding when AI enables rather than replaces human work. The smart question is not whether the technology is impressive. It is where accountability, proof, and human judgment still have to sit. Thank you for staying informed with Digital Tech News. We'll be back with more updates as they develop.